Good morning, fellas, and welcome to the Africa Weekly Talk. Today's subject on the docket is the intra-African trade protectionism among various African countries that has led to this nationalism and inter-African fights and some threats from some politicians in some African countries with regards to whether expelling other African nationals because of minor visa violations and all of that stuff. But the key to this is that I'm also asking if Nigeria government should also take retaliatory measures against African countries that have been doing this to Nigerian citizens. And also should other African governments as well, whether the Ghanaian government or South African government, Mozambique government, Zimbabwe government, Ethiopian government, Benin government, all other African governments should also take retaliatory measures against African countries that do that to their citizens. And my answer to this question is emphatically no. Emphatically no. We don't need to go back to this issue of expulsion of African migrants from various African countries. I mean, I can talk about 1969, when the Ghanaian government, the Buzia government at that time, estimated at that time, I think a lot of Nigerians, maybe close to the hundreds of thousands or close to 1 million Nigerians were expelled from Ghana, when they were given, I think, about 48 hours to leave Ghana, in which case most of these Nigerians had to leave Ghana without anything. I mean, some of them left their businesses, left their buildings, and had to return back to Nigeria. Then Nigeria returned the favor to Ghana, 1983, with Shehu Shagari's government, when they also expelled Ghanaians, from Nigeria. That's what they call it, Agege in Ghana back then, and they had Ghana must go. And if you look at both instances, I'm talking about this Nigeria and Ghana, because this is all of them in West Africa happened, and it wasn't just there. You had Zimbabwe and South Africa also. But the bottom line is, if you look at both instances, there's one thing that was in common with the decisions made by these political leaders, which was employment issues among their citizens in their various countries. And the main reason was that most of their citizens were unemployed, and they were blaming the foreign nationals from various African countries as the reason why they have been unemployed. And unfortunately, this is not just only even in Africa. This thing happens all over the world. It's a social issue where politicians, because politicians usually like to drive these things up to ginger their citizens that somehow they're trying to do something for their natives. So every time you have unemployment issues and you have these sentiments within the countries that, because of these foreigners, these nationals, foreign nationals from here, from there, and all that stuff, it gingers up the citizens, and the politicians take advantage of that. They take advantage of that because, one, they have not been able to do the necessary things that are needed to create jobs for their citizens. So they use the foreign nationals as an excuse, as well as the reasons why most of their citizens are unemployed. And due to that, it creates this nationalism. And then these expulsions become popular among their citizens But there's always a downside to this because, like I said before, 69 Ghana did it to Nigeria, and then 83 Shagari also did it to Ghanaians. And then you had a case in Zimbabwe with South Africa, Kenya and Uganda, Tanzania and Uganda. I mean, this is something that has been going on, and happened even in Ghana with Cote d'Ivoire some years back as well. And then quite recently also, we've had situations where these same issues are cropping up in most African countries again. You had a situation in South Africa against Nigerians and other Africans. And then you had a situation in Ghana where with these stringent Ghana laws about foreign investors, requiring foreign investors to have about $1 million just to set up a shop in Ghana, which is very ridiculous, in my opinion, very, very ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense for people coming to Ghana to invest in petty trading, selling of cell phone, car accessories, and dog chains and all that stuff, have to have $1 million before they can be able to set up shop and all that stuff. But it's happening. And because of that, you had some break-ins by some fellow Ghanaians in Accra, the capital, and as well as the second biggest city of Ghana, Kumasi, where, they had to take the police down there to lock up Nigerian shops and all that stuff. But eventually, the Nigerian government and the Ghana government have decided to work things out, and hopefully, these things will tamper down and we don't have to deal with this stuff. It happened with the South Africa situation also, where the Nigerian government also stepped in. But the reason why I'm saying this is because if Nigeria should retaliate to most of these countries, in the long run, it's going to hurt most of the other countries more than Nigeria. Because let's not forget, Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa. Nigeria has the population. And because of that, they are like the California of Africa. They lead the way in economic development in so many areas in Africa. Because even foreign trade coming from China to Africa, the number one trading partner of China is Nigeria. And most countries outside of Africa, their number one trading partner is Nigeria, because of the Nigeria's economy as well as the size of its population. So basically, they have a bigger share of middle class citizens in Nigeria than most African countries will ever even dream of having. So that is why I said it's a bad idea, even if Nigeria should try or to retaliate towards other African countries, because it's going to hurt other African countries. The same way it's a bad idea for any African country to retaliate against other African countries when it comes to trade issues, because the African Union has to step in big time on this issue, because one, we have to emulate some of the European trade deals among the Eurozone. Because if you look at the way they do their trading among their various countries, it is easier for the European countries to trade among themselves. And they also have this free flow of citizens from various European Union countries to move in from various countries back and forth, either for jobs or for businesses and all that stuff. We as Africans have to start looking at that playbook. I get it, it's always good when you talk about the sentiments of nationalism and protectionism and all that stuff. It's always good to talk about stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it satisfies the local population. But the key issues that are affecting African citizens in terms of economics, unemployment, job growth, and all that stuff has more to do with our bad governance and corruption than anything else. But what trading among African countries does is that it opens up every African market for all these African countries. And if you look at it, the most countries that benefit from these intra-African trade will be the small countries, because the smaller countries' businesses or companies will have the opportunity to sell their products in the bigger markets of Africa, like Nigeria, Egypt, Ethiopia, South and North Sudan, South Africa. So it gives opportunity to countries like Benin, Togo, Namibia, Botswana, all these little African countries to also break into the big African countries with their goods and services. But another issue that has been bothering African trade system is that we have to understand that if inter-African trade, what it does is that it opens up most African industries. It gives them the leg up to set up shops in most of these countries. And with that intra-African trade, what it does is it grows these businesses as well as grows the economies of most of these various African countries. Because if you look at most businesses in the world today, businesses that are locally in most of our African countries, when they have this intra-African trade, are able to expand. They are able to expand into the other markets with their products. And by supporting each other in this way, it helps most African countries to develop their local businesses to be able to compete with the international businesses and so on and so forth. I mean, a clear example is like, let's say, Dangote Cement of Nigeria. Today, you look at Dangote Cement of Nigeria, even though Nigeria is his biggest market, but outside of Nigeria, he's all over Africa as well. And out of that, it has created competition within some of these African countries and has also helped reduce the prices of cement in most of these African countries. When most of them, their local cement companies had monopoly over cement in their countries. Outside of the Dangote Cement stuff, if you can take an example, a clear example of a Ghanaian company that I saw an interview where the businessman was talking about how the Nigerian market helped him improve his business in Ghana. Basically, what he said was that when he started his distillery company, basically what he does is he does alcoholic drinks and sells them in Ghana, the local market. He was doing well with that business. He was making a lot of money in Ghana. But what happened was when the Nigerian businesses started coming to buy his products, that is what changed his business concept. That is what changed his business plan. So because he was originally selling to the local market of Ghana, there was no need for him to increase the level of production that he was doing. So what he did was he had to go and import used manufacturing equipment from Germany to bring it to Ghana so that he can be able to meet the demand of his products from the Nigerian businesses. And out of that, he was able to move from a small factory to a bigger factory with new equipment and machinery, and also to be able to employ more Ghanaians. So this is a clear example of what I'm talking about when in terms of intra-African trade. So you have a Ghanaian businessman in Ghana benefiting from a Nigerian businesses because of his product. See, at the end of the day, it's about the product. It's about the product, because if you produce good products, then you have the opportunity to be able to break through other markets. So even if you get the open market system and your products are not good, it's very difficult for you to break through in other markets. But if you produce good products, it's going to create other markets for you. And this is what the Ghanaian businessman said in his interview about how the Nigerian market helped him to open up such a big company in Ghana and employ more Ghanaians. So in the end, employing more Ghanaians, that's what help the Ghanaian unemployment situation, and also what helps build the Ghanaian economy. So when we are talking about protectionism, Protectionism is very bad. I've argued against this and I continue to argue against it. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times people look at protectionism as, oh, it's good for us because it's going to benefit local companies. But we live in a different world today. The world we live in economically today is totally different. I mean, if you create protectionism, what basically you are doing is giving other countries also the opportunity to implement the same policies towards your government or your country people. Because at the end of the day, if you do it and they retaliate, it affects both countries. And it's a no-win-win situation for either country. So let's start thinking about this protectionism laws and all that stuff that is going on in Africa that is, hurting our local businesses and our intra-African trade and everything. Because we already have what you call it, regional trade organizations in Africa. West Africa has the ECOWAS trade bloc, and you go to East Africa, they have theirs. You have I don't know about the North Africa, but I know the East Africans have one, and as well as the South Africans. By the end of the day, the African Union is supposed to be the leader in this, to make the case that even though we have these regional trade blocs, we also have to look at the African Union concept. That is the key. I mean, open the market up for various African countries so that even though we can still have our regional blocs, but we have to do it in such a way that it is well implemented. It is well implemented to incorporate immigration as well. I mean, we shouldn't be scared of people from different African countries migrating to our countries. In some cases, it might be the best thing for your countries because some of these people will come in with what? Talent, intellectual abilities that maybe your countries might need. So let's be open. So I'm a strong believer in free trade because free trade helps with job growth as well as what? It also helps with economic development, period. There's no ifs and buts about that. So I'm a strong proponent of free trade. I mean, this buzz that has been going on for some years now in South Africa, Ghana, Tanzania, Nigeria, and all the other African countries about African governments using protectionism laws against fellow Africans has to stop because it doesn't benefit Africa as a whole. Like I said, we have to take a playbook from the European Union, how they implement their free trade policies towards each other, because like for instance, if you look at the European Union situation where the Brexit happened, because the British felt that they were not being taken care of in that union and they decided to break out of it. And it was the citizens of England that decided to break out of Brexit. It was a referendum that they decided to break out of Brexit because they believe that if England as a separate country economically will be better for its citizens in terms of employment and all of that. That's fine. It's already a developed country. So they can be able to withstand certain things economically. But Africa, we are now developing. And because we are now developing, if we open up our markets, especially when we have favorable trade arrangements within the continent, then it will benefit us because when African companies become developed on our continent, what it does is that it keeps the talent in Africa. Okay, and when we do that inter-trade deals among ourselves, it also keeps the money in Africa. That means we don't have to send the money to Europe or America to build their economies. That is one thing we also have to look at. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is something that, looking at it, it may look complex, but it's not that complex. Because if you look at most of the trade arrangements that goes on between America and Europe, America and other African countries, at the end of the day, Americans trade because they believe that one way or the other, if they're able to break into your market, it helps their citizens locally because they have to produce the goods in America and send it to your countries to sell them in your countries. You have Toyota, car company from Japan, in the United States. You have Mercedes-Benz from Germany setting up shops, factories in the United States. You have Honda. You have all these auto industries, big-time auto industries. All of them now have factories in America. The Americans weren't scared of trading with the Japanese, the Europeans. No. You had American car companies, Ford. You had Chrysler, and you had the General Motors. They are still there. They didn't collapse. But because they believed in free trade, what did that happen? What happened was, because of that, the German car companies as well as the Japanese car companies also set up shop in America, by thereby doing what? Creating jobs in America. The same way Ford Motor Company also have factories in Europe and in China and other places all over the world. Also thereby doing what? Creating jobs in those countries as well for their citizens. So free trade is good. There's nothing wrong with free trade. Protectionism to me is a very bad idea. The best thing I've always said is that if you want to protect your local industry, I'm a strong believer in lower taxes. Create a good tax incentive for your local industry. That's great. That's the best way. But in terms of giving access for other African countries or African nationals to come to your country to do businesses in your countries, that's something that we should consider. We should just let it go. We should just accept that, so that we can all build together as Africans. Because at the end of the day, if we do that intra-African trade and do it well, we build wealth in Africa. The wealth does not go outside of Africa. Because if African countries are developing and we are doing this intra-African trade, what happens is that we are buying from each other instead of going outside to China, to Asia, to buy all these products. Because as African countries grow and as African countries develop, more factories, more industrial equipment, more industrial zones will spring up in all of Africa and will help Africa as a whole. So should Nigeria take retaliatory measures towards other African countries? I say emphatically, heck no. Work together as Africans and let's build our economies together. Thank you guys for listening. And if it's Sunday, it's the Africa Weekly Talk. Wish you all the best. God bless you guys, and peace and love. And enjoy your week.